7, aka Diz, and this is the Force Always.
Okay, so welcome to the show. This is the Force Always. Let's get on with the Star Wars news. Later on in the show, in the review section, The Mandalorian, The Tragedy, Chapter 13 will be reviewed by myself, so stick around for that later on in the show. Anyway, speaking of which, it's just aired. Depends on when you're watching this video, but it's just aired, and we've now got chapter 13. I think there's 2 more episodes to go. Here in Australia, it's at 7 p.m. In America, I think it's like in midnight. My goodness, but yeah. So Disney Plus, The Mandalorian, check it out. Anyway, so that's the first piece of news. The second, but probably the most important this week, David Prowse, who originally played Darth Vader, has passed away. He was very tall in stature. He was meant to voice the Darth Vader character according to himself and his understanding, but personally, I wish, I feel for his not being able to, but I think the choice of James L. Jones was much better for the voice, his movement, his height, everything like that. I think it was suited absolutely. I feel sorry for David Prowse having the bit of turmoil with Star Wars all these years. I don't know how much, really the extent of it, but it was there was a bit of bitterness there, but there was obviously a lot of love for the fans. And I never got to meet David Prowse, but yes, he's passed away, age 85. Technically, that's 40 years ago he made that. Well, he didn't make the famous line, but he was a part of that scene, the I am your father scene. So very iconic scene in Star Wars, very iconic scene in movies itself. But anyway, so that's a bit of news there. So anyway, moving on to more news from last week's The Mandalorian episode. Here's a character poster. They've been releasing character posters pretty much every week, I think, besides 1 week so far. But this is of Ahsoka Tano. Very nice. Here it is. Check it out. It's a character poster. Sort of a bit of tradition this year in The Mandalorian Season 2. Yeah. So that is the news for this time around. My goodness, I haven't even done this. Look at this. The light. Anyway, so let's get on with views. Views this time around will be about, is a story idea that I usually have within the Star Wars saga sometime, somewhere. And as we're sort of next year getting an Obi-Wan series, we've got The Mandalorian. Is it worthwhile putting Ewan McGregor, the Obi-Wan that we know, into this series? And I think yes, it would be a great story idea, sort of to connect him into the understanding of the fans of today. Even though he'd be a Force ghost, I think it would be a worthy sort of thing to have. Sort of get a bit of back. The younger ones of today would get a bit of backstory on who he is, why he is, things like that. For us old people like me, we know the whole sort of thing, but it's a good refresh. I would definitely include him in some sort of storyline, not major, but a little bit. It would be a great moment in The Mandalorian and Star Wars itself. That's what I would do, include his character in the Star Wars, The Mandalorian. Anyway, that's my views for this time around. Let's get into the reviews. Reviews is of The Mandalorian, which is on Disney Plus. It's called The Tragedy. It's Chapter 13. I think it's Episode 6. Last week I said Episode 4, which is wrong. It's an Episode 6. They're not really calling it episodes in Star Wars, but they're calling it chapters. So it is Chapter 13. Straight off the bat, this gets a 9 out of 10. Really, really enjoyable, as most of the season has been, besides sort of the second episode, or the second part, whatever you want to say. I think it was very Star Wars-like, especially on the Imperial ship. I would assume it would be Imperial, being the Empire. I thought Moff Gideon, his character is really good. A little bit stale here and there sometimes. I like that sort of Darth Vader look about his suit, but without a helmet. It sort of, I want to make sense of what the actual suit does. The only thing that really made this episode a bit weak was a lot of this episode was shot outside, which I loved. I thought it was original. It really looked good, but it did have a little bit of a quality of a fan film. Nothing against fan films at all. I like fan films, but it just looked a bit fan film. But the way that the Boba Fett flew in the in his ship. I've forgotten his name. Slave One. That's it. Slave One. And also the way that the Mandalorian just flies in the air is amazing. It's just very seamless. It doesn't take you out of it thinking it's a special effect. It's just amazing. And so it was a little bit fan film of quality in certain sort of shots because of the daylight, I suppose, because of the setting. But it's not a downfall. It was original. I liked it, but it was just had a bit too rawness to a quality. Some sort of a bit more creativity in its landscape to give it a bit more of a Star Wars look, rather than just being out in the open like the country, whatever it is. But 9 out of 10 for this week's episode. The Mandalorian, I think 2 more to go. God, the season's gone really quick. Anyway, so let's get into the interviews. That's 2 questions where I asked myself, for you guys out there. It's going to be interesting 2 questions. It's actually about the particular episode we watched. So the first question is, one interesting fun fact, like a fun fact that I picked up in this particular episode. The question is, what is this fun fact? And believe me, this is a fun fact. How is it that Grogu, as we know, or Baby Yoda, or the child, had shackles exactly to his size? That's amazing. Like they had it on board, or they were ready, or this is the size. I thought that was quite interesting in a sort of realistic thinking manner. I mean, how they had that size available. Maybe they had, preparations for getting this little guy. But I just thought it was quite amazing. They had these little shackles for Grogu, the child, or Baby Yoda, whatever you want to call him, on hand. So that's the sort of answer to the sort of question, what was the fun fact? And it was definitely fun. It was about how was it they had the shackles on hand. I don't know, but it was fun. Anyway, so the second question was in regards to, this is another fun fact about the particular episode. When it was referred to the Jedi that could appear, what was a possible giveaway? Okay, so what was a possible giveaway? It was mentioned it was a him. Now, I know there's not many females that we've gotten to know that are Jedi, which is not my choosing. It just happens to be that way. I like the female Jedi sort of form, but it's a him. So I'm thinking if it's going to be him, in my prediction, it could be a Force Ghost Obi-Wan or Ezra we knew from Rebels. So that's my prediction. But yes, so with the second question was, what's a second fun fact of this particular episode? And as it was that he did mention it was a him. A him. It would be actually also interesting, I think, if it was Mace Windu, if they're going to bring him back. But Star Wars, as I've said before, needs to stop bringing the dead alive. Even though he could have survived that fall, as we saw in Revenge of the Sith, If you can remember that, come on. It's just, let's make a bit more reality to our death. But anyway, so that's my interviews 2Q for this time around. This is a weekly Star Wars show where I give you the news, views, reviews, and interviews. Contact me on the Instagram just down below, or Twitter, or even YouTube. Until next time, keep rocking.